Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Monday, December 9th, 2013. Our first news story for the morning is from Boiling Frog's post, Checkbook Journalism and Leaking to the Highest Bidders. And this is about the process of releasing the information that Edward Snowden has gotten out of the NSA. And it's really a story of betrayal of the American people, that even though this information was freed, if I can use that term, released and brought out into a place where it could be in the public eye, it is not being released, and as we've all heard, only 1% of it has been released up to this point. And this article from Boiling Frogs proposes that the reason the rest of it has not been released is because the people handling Edward Snowden are they are doing this for money. They're selling to the highest bidder, and they are not releasing this information as what we all would anticipate it should be released. And one thing stated in this article is that if the information that Snowden has provided continues to be released at the current pace, he will be 72 years old before it all comes out. So, we hear a lot about Edward Snowden, and I'm sure that some of his information is significant, but it's just not helpful to us at this point because we don't have all of it. And it's really, there's this tragedy of even, people who kind of present themselves as being liberty-minded and being a part of the solution. Many of them are actually a part of the problem, and maybe have ties to the cabal. And this kind of betrayal is something that I think that it's important for all of us to be cautious about, especially as we begin to develop networks of friends and liberty people. And there are just some people that are not worthy of our trust, if I can use that word, worthy. And it's interesting to think that, even Jesus had 12 close friends, and one of Jesus's 12 close friends betrayed him. So I think this is a topic that is worth just spending a little time, an idea that maybe we can just think about in our own lives and exercise caution, not taking it. And over the weekend, from the Federalist Papers, this article came out. New York City begins issuing gun confiscation letters demanding immediate surrender of the weapons. And you'll hear about this in a lot of places. I enjoyed this article because it has some of the actual information from the city of New York, what was given to people. And they were given a few choices. They could either immediately surrender their rifle and or shotgun. And this is not high-tech. A shotgun is not a high-tech weapon. To your local police precinct and notify this office of the invoice number. The firearm may be sold or permanently removed from the city of New York thereafter. Permanently remove your rifle and or shotgun from New York City. Or 3, you may call to discuss the matter if you believe your firearm is in compliance, or you may request the option to bring your firearm to a licensed gunsmith for a permanent modification and certification, proving that it is permanently modified and in compliance. Don't you hate that word, compliance? I wish we could just take that word out of the human language and the idea that it represents. So this is happening in New York City right now. This is real. They are taking away people's guns. And if you believe in the Second Amendment, now is the time to speak out rather loudly. And I saw this article over the weekend, and this article just presents this idea rather well. So I wanted to put this link out there. 2 constitutions in the United States. First was illegally suspended in favor of a Vatican crown corporation in 1871. I know that sounds extreme and reactionary, but if you read this article, you will gain some understanding. If you don't already understand these ideas and these issues, this is certainly a very helpful bit of information. And from Ucadia blog, The Sovereign Citizen Phenomena, Why the Pirates and Bankers Fear the Restoration of Rule of Law, Justice, and Due Process. You know, we might, as liberty people, we might be portrayed as, you know, crazy gun grabbers, Bible thumpers. But the reality is we are sane and quiet-minded people who enjoy thinking and processing ideas. And this is, you know, this is an eternal power here. Rule of law, justice, and due process. These things don't spring out of the human heart. They flow out of the mind of God. And we love these things because we are created in the image of God. And this is really the only way to live in peace and security, even, you know, a degree of security. And I'm not talking about the kind of security that we exchange freedom for security. I just mean we all need to be able to feel that we are not going to be harmed, our families are not going to be harmed. You know, the right that's guaranteed us to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Just very, very basic human principles. And of course, they've all been skewed by the current U.S. government. And just, you know, all we're asking for, all sovereign citizens are asking for, is the restoration of the rule of law, justice, and due process, because the pirates and bankers have operated for so long outside of those principles. And the Wall Street Journal it's not an article, this is their journal community, so I believe it's kind of on par with a letter to the editor, but it was, at least it's been published on their website. The Federal Reserve's cult of secrecy is unmasked. And what is stated here, the GAO audit found a huge number of serious conflicts of interest at the Fed. And the Fed has its own internal watchdog, the Office of Inspector General. That office somehow managed to fail to notice any of these problems in its most recent report to Congress. So basically, it's public, it's on the table within the context of the government that the Fed is fudging. They're not telling the truth about who they are, and this is aptly named. The Federal Reserve's cult of secrecy is unmasked. It is. And the fact that this is appearing in the journal, hopefully people will pick up on that and become more aware. More people become more aware. From Mercy Triumphs is a blog from Fritz Springmeier, When Silence is a Sin. And Fritz goes through a lot of ideas here just based on not speaking out when we know something is wrong. And this is, as he stated, a post on injustice. While we lack the ability to prevent it, we still can protest it. And he's encouraging people to speak out when we see something is amiss. And he goes through a lot of ideas here, but I want to show this video, and I'll provide a link for it. He included this video in his post. It is called "My Sunshine Daughter of Sacrifice, Murdered for Christ, Interview with Teresa." And this is an interview with a mother of a daughter who was a human sacrifice. And the daughter refused to renounce her Christian faith. And she was killed. And there also is this link to where you can download the free ebook. And it's right here, Teresa, Sunshine Daughter of Sacrifice. And it's a 3.7 megabyte PDF. So, I read the book, The Shack. That was about someone whose child was molested and killed. And it's part fiction, part autobiography. It was a good story, but it just, it lacked something. I don't know. I wanted to use the word depth, but that's not really accurate. I want to read this book, and I have an idea that this book, My Sunshine, Daughter of Sacrifice, it probably cuts a lot deeper. And the blurb is, "This true story not only lets you see the unfailing devotion of a 19-year-old girl who, even through hours of torture, gave her life for our Heavenly Father. It is also a look into the world in which we live. Specifically, it gives insight into how occult influence has made inroads even into our government, law enforcement, and judicial systems. The message is, if we are putting our trust in anything or anyone other than God, we will be in for a rude awakening." Quote written by Sunshine in her Bible, "If we meet and you forget me, you've lost nothing. But if you meet Jesus and forget him, you've lost everything." So, just that, and the reason this mentions a look into our government, law enforcement, and judicial systems was because her death was not prosecuted to the extent of the knowledge and the evidence that was present. So, many people in this country just completely sidestep justice, while the rest of us are, get sent to jail for, a couple ounces of marijuana. Here are people who have murdered a 19-year-old girl, and they are walking the streets. So, this is just a part of our cry for justice. And we cry out to God for justice. But we also, I think, talk to people about justice. What is it? Where is it in our nation? And just, talk to people about the restoration of the rule of law. And I believe that justice will prevail, even in this country. Here from Before It's News is an article, "Tech Firms Would Rather Shut Down Than Cooperate with the NSA." At least that's their story, and they're sticking to it, right? No, I mean, we have to acknowledge that when these companies are threatened with lower profits and lower sales because people don't want their spy technology incorporated in the gadgets and gizmos, whatever they may be, of course they will want something to change because they don't want to lose their sales. So this is another area where I think it's important for us to speak out and vote with our dollars. And if you have old tech that's working and It's less vulnerable to being spied on. Why would you go out and buy the new tech that you know is going to have more spy tech incorporated into it? So, these people are aware, and again, if we vote with our dollars, and just stop buying the stuff. Don't buy the new Xbox that has that can watch you in the dark, and just don't buy some of these things. Another article on tech spying. NSA GCHQ planted agents into World of Warcraft Second Life to spy on gamers. I don't even have anything to say about that, except just if you don't want everybody knowing every secret in your life, be careful. And for some added clarity concerning what is actually going on in the world in which we live, from David Icke, Saudi Prince Bandar led attacks on Syrian Christians. So just in helping us to not be confused about what is really going on and who the bad guys really are, here is some helpful information to support your thought processes as you make those distinctions. And leaning toward good news is this video from last week. I think it was last Friday, from InfoWars, an interview between Alex Jones and Pastor James David Manning. And although this doesn't sound like good news, Obama the 2.0 dictator, it is a very strong statement about who Obama has become and is becoming, which could potentially be discouraging. But this interview ends with a very powerful prayer of agreement offered by Pastor James David Manning for our nation, for the restoration of justice and the rule of law. And if you are a believer, if you are a praying person, and even if you don't want to listen to this entire interview, you might scroll through to the end and join in the prayer of agreement, enter into agreement with other liberty-loving people for a restoration of the rule of law and the restoration of our constitutional republic. And here is the really good news of the day, at least what I've seen so far, from Natural News. Hawaii's Big Island passes bill forbidding biotechnology companies and GMOs. So this Big Island, it's kind of a pristine place. It's rather isolated. So if they don't allow GMOs there, there's potential for the Big Island to remain rather pure as far as genetic material is concerned. So, and this is really great news. I mean, if this is beginning a trend, wonderful, and we can certainly hope for that. And with that uplifting and encouraging idea, thank you for tuning in for today's Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.